Hey guys, how are we doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome everybody in. Hello. I know Harley Ryder, this is a good day for true crime, I feel like. So I came on earlier to get caught up on live. So we did a Delphi read through this afternoon around 4:15, and right before we were getting ready to do that, there was just all kinds of stuff coming in. Like I was like, what's going on? I was like, is it the fall weather or what, But I'm excited for it. I'm excited. Hey, baby girl. Hey, Wiz. Hey, Crime Story Diva. Welcome in, everybody. Alicia's in. And Ashley was in, but I don't know. She might have exited for a minute. She might be back. She was actually the first one in here. I was surprised. She's usually late. She's usually like, I'm late. Barry probably is. So we're going to do Rachel Morin first. But before we get started with that, we'll go over to segue to the Suzanne Morphew case because this is a big one. So I guess Barry didn't know up until like I guess YouTube found out before Barry found out. I don't know. You know how it works on the internet though. So he's probably shitting himself. His kids, I'm wondering what they're thinking at this point. But it's just been a crazy, crazy day for true crime. There was like Chad Doerman had a big document drop come out. I have names. I have like things listed here. Crystal Rogers, an arrest. We arrest everywhere. Arrest everywhere. Arrest, arrest, arrest. So we have an arrest in the Crystal Rogers case, finally. Hopefully he won't see the light of day again. The Long Island, the Lisk or Gilgo Beach, I don't know what they're calling him right now, but Rex Heuermann, he was in court today. So we'll cover some of that tomorrow. And Leilani Simon, I think she did like a motion to wear I think whatever she wanted to court or something along those lines. But we need to get caught up on anything that she's been doing while she's been in jail. And then Ruby Frank has some updates. And so I was trying to write down all the cases we were like covering because I was like, man, we have a lot going. But I've been wanting to cover the Suzanne Morphew case for a while on the channel. We just never did. And then when the stuff broke today, I was like, okay, well, now is as good a time as any, Tanya. You better get on it. Exactly, West. Those girls deserve to know what happened to their mom. And I feel bad for them because you want to believe your father wouldn't harm your mother. You don't ever want to think those things. But they happen. Those things happen. So, hey, Steve, welcome in. Hey, Deb. Welcome back, Deb. Good day for us, I reckon. Yeah. It's like the air got a little crisper and everyone's going to jail. At least they'll stay warm. Hopefully. So what we'll do tonight, if you guys, before we get into the live, if you don't mind hitting the like button, it does help. Got to tell you guys that. Or if I don't tell you, then sometimes maybe you'll forget. If you'd like to join our channel, I'll put it into the channel link or the comment section there, the chat. If you'd like to join, we'd love to have you. And hi, Cats Life. Welcome in. There's Ashley. So let's go ahead and get into tonight's live. Tonight, like I said, we're going to cover two cases. So both of these cases have garnered national attention, both of them. Immediately they did. So the first case that we're going to cover is going to be Rachel Morin. If you're not unfamiliar with the case, she is the mother of 5 out of Maryland, Bel Air, Maryland. She went jogging on the Ma and Pa Trail back on August 5th, and she never came home. Her boyfriend reported her missing. They did a search the next day. They found her in one of the tunnels that were in the park on the trail. So it's really sad. They did get DNA. So when they got the DNA, they were able to connect the DNA from another case out in LA of an assault. So when we saw the assault happen, we saw all this, the stuff with the arm, with the door and all of that. We all assumed that this was a young girl because that's what they said in the presser. Well, apparently it was a guy. That hand at the door, that was a male's hand. So now I have more questions than I did before. So we'll go ahead and we'll get started with some updates with that case here. Let me share this screen with you. That might help. When I saw one of the clips I saw on News Nation last night when they were talking about it being a guy's hand, I was like, whoa, wait a minute. So Harford County Sheriff did come out and he made the correction. So here they're just saying in this one that, that the suspect in the Rachel Morin murder is on path to becoming a serial killer. And they talk about that in this clip here. They also identified the person, at the house that was in the home when that guy, broke in or whatever and assaulted them. So I'll play this little clip here for us. It's only like 45 seconds long. So, maybe turn it up first. That might help.
We have some breaking news just into the WJZ newsroom tonight. The Harford County Sheriff's Office giving an update now in their investigation into Rachel Morin's murder. Police say, while they have not been able to identify the suspect yet, they have been able to identify the person whose arm is seen closing that door behind the suspect in this surveillance video. So this is tied to an assault in Los Angeles that happened in March earlier this year.
Now, County Sheriff Jeff Galler says detectives have spoken with that person and are confident they played no role in any of the crimes the suspect is tied to. Police are still asking for your help and for tips that could help them catch Morin's killer. There is a $10,000 reward out for tips that lead to an arrest.
No one showed up.
Baltimore's public safety.
Okay, so they identified the guy. In that video, they just identified the person. They didn't say if it was a guy or if it was a girl. But we'll find out here soon that it is a guy. And now I'm wondering, why is his shirt off? Did he assault a male that way? Or was he already in the house and he got hot, so he took his shirt off while he's rummaging through stuff? I don't know. It's crazy. It's just I don't know what to take from it. But they did bring on Pat Brown, which she's good at explaining things, criminal profiler. If you haven't seen her, she's on like ID Discovery a lot. I think she might be on Oxygen Channel as well. But the Harford County family uses this criminal profile to generate leads in the Rachel Morin homicide investigation. And at the end, they're going to show us a flyer that the family has made. And I do have the new flyer for the suspect and about the suspect, and I'll show that after this clip. So we'll play this here. And then this is just for, they're still on the hunt.
Rachel Morin's killer continues nearly 1 month since she was murdered in Harford County. Tonight, her family is trying a new tool to try and catch her killer. Welcome to the news at 11. I'm Vic Carter. The mother of 5 went missing after going for a walk on the Ma and Pa Trail on August the 5th. Her body was discovered the next day. Police released this video of the suspect in the case, taken from the scene of a home invasion and assault in Los Angeles back in March. Investigators say they've linked Morin's killer to this California crime through DNA, but not much else is known about him. That's why Morin's family has contacted a criminal profiler to try to learn more about him. Jessica Albury joins us now live tonight with what they found out. Jessica.
Vic, the criminal profiler came up with a list of traits that Rachel's killer could have. The family took those traits, put them on flyers that they plan to pass around the community to hopefully generate new leads.
Tracking Rachel Morin's killer by analyzing his potential traits.
There's definitely somebody in this area that knows who he is, but they may be in denial that the person they know is this person.
WJZ spoke exclusively with Matthew McMahon, the father of Morin's eldest child. He contacted Maryland criminal profiler Pat Brown to help solve the homicide that has haunted the Harford County community and beyond for a month now.
If I can offer something I think is worthwhile, then I will be happy to do it.
The biggest break in the case so far, video Harford County detectives shared last month of the suspect taken from another crime scene. DNA evidence linked the killer to a home invasion and assault in Los Angeles earlier this year.
We do not have a clear video or photo of the suspect's face.
That's why the family is relying on Brown's 30 years of experience to come up with potential traits of Morin's killer. According to Brown, the suspect must know someone in the Bel Air area, citing his extensive travel from California to Maryland. Brown also believes the suspect could either live or work near the Ma and Pa Trail. While knowing someone capable of committing such vicious crimes seems unlikely, Brown says it does happen.
We don't think a person we know, one of our relatives, one of our friends, the next door neighbor, the guy who's working for us, we don't recognize them as being serial killers. And that's why after somebody is caught, they go, wow.
Morin's family took the traits Brown developed and put them on a flyer. They plan to pass them out on the Ma and Pa Trail Tuesday.
He could still be here. He could have gone back to LA. He could be anywhere. We don't know where he is. But what we want is to get this information out there to everybody, not here, not LA, the whole country, because he could be threatening anybody anywhere.
And again, Morin's family plans to be back out on the Ma and Pa Trail at 5:30 tomorrow night, passing out those flyers. They'd like members of the community to join them and help them as they pass out the flyers. They've also printed ones in Spanish, too. Reporting live tonight at 11, Jessica Alford for WJZ.
Wow, that's so sad. Thank you, Marys. Thank you so much. That's so nice. That's incredibly kind. I do have the flyer here that her family put together, and I thought that was really smart of them. Like they're a smart family, and I love the families when they come like together. After, like, you know, when they group together and they use their noggins and they're like, okay, what are we going to do as a family unit to get our girl some justice? And they were like, well, the guy they're saying, because they said that they thought the guy was of like, like Spanish Mexican descent or whatever. So they were like, well, we need to get flyers out there that are in Spanish. And I'm like, that's smart right there. I mean, I wouldn't have thought of that. Maybe not, but I thought that was pretty smart of them to think of that. So I do have the flyer that they put together for Rachel. And I'll read through it for you guys. And they upped the reward from $10,000 to $20,000. I feel like I know that there's a GoFundMe for her children and things of that nature. Maybe someone needs to start like a GoFundMe for something like tips to like identify the killer. And then just put in like that money into a GoFundMe, and maybe it'll generate more money. You never know. GoFundMe, sometimes they explode, But it says, tips needed to identify killer of Rachel Morin. DNA matching this unidentified man is linked to the crime. The following profile is created by criminal profile Pat Brown and is not not authorized by the Harford County Sheriff's Department. That was really small print. So these are things that Pat Brown, put together about this guy. This man is a suspected serial killer and is an immediate danger to the community. He is a violent criminal with these dangerous psychopathic traits: narcissistic, only cares about himself; lacking empathy, doesn't care how others feel; manipulative, takes advantage of others; and he is a pathological liar, lies about everything compulsively. After committing a crime in Los Angeles, California, he came to Bel Air, Maryland. This choice of location to a small, lesser-known city is odd, meaning he must know someone in Bel Air where he has been able to stay. I agree with that, or maybe the surrounding area, because it's like a 36-hour trip from LA to there. We saw the attack on Rachel Morin has occurred. That occurred while she was running on the Ma and Pa Heritage Trail. Was likely committed by an opportunistic, couldn't say that word, predator who saw her that evening. This means it is likely the predator has a specific reason to be in the area of the path. He runs on it, travels on it, he works near it, or he is living near it. The suspect would not be accountable for either at work or home sometime between 6 p.m. and dusk on Saturday, August 5th, 2023, when the attack occurred. And then it has, if you have anybody any information, call 410-836-5430. And there's now a $20,000 reward for the leading for the arrest. Hey, Cindy, welcome in. He does have like a little bit of a curve problem, doesn't he, Wiz? He is standing a little funky. Man, so between March, April, May, June, July, August, between that was like 5 months, 2 people. So I wanted to show you this. This is the video that got my attention, brought back to this case, because I've been looking like every few days. I'll look up Rachel Morin Updates, and there's just been nothing. There's just been nothing on there. So when I saw this after I got off the live last night, I was like, whoa, I know what I'm doing my live over tomorrow. So we were just going to do it over Rachel at first, but then all this stuff came out with Suzanne, which is great and amazing. So we're going to cover both. So this is exclusive with the sheriff from Harford County, and he talks with Brian Enton at News Nation. Oh, you're so right. Whatever's done in the dark will always come to light. Yep. Justice will be Rachel's. I believe that too. Hey, Aries, welcome in. So I'll go ahead and play this video here for us, and then we'll go over to Suzanne Morphew soon. Oh, don't loop it. Just play it. Oh, let me turn it up for us.
Okay. Investigative work, canvassing the Ma and Pa Trail and surrounding neighborhoods 3 times. They're doing it themselves, going out there door to door, handing out flyers in English and Spanish with info about the case and the suspect. The man leading those efforts is Matt McMahon, father of Rachel's oldest child. He joins me now. This is his first national interview, and we appreciate him being with us. Also joining me is Rachel's sister, Rebecca Morin, and the Morin family attorney, Randolph Rice. All 3 of you, thank you so much for being with us. I know how difficult this is every single day. Matt, I want to start with you because we haven't spoken with you before. I'm very, very sorry for your loss. I know that for you personally, you have this very personal feeling that you have to get out there and help find this guy.
Yes, absolutely. Not just because Rachel was part of my life for 19 years, but because she's the mother of my daughter and 4 other amazing children, all of whom I absolutely love. So I need to do it for me, for the children, for Rachel, and also to make sure that nobody else experiences what we experienced and what Rachel experienced.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine how are the children doing tonight, Matt?
All the children are doing differently just because they're unique individuals. They're doing the best that they can. They're delighted to hear that the reward has been increased. The only thing that any of them really want is to have this suspect apprehended. So they understand that this might move that a little bit closer to reality. But they are struggling, as would be expected.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't imagine what they're going through. Rebecca, are police telling you anything new? I mean, we just heard from the sheriff. To me, it seems like good news that they are at least baby steps, but it's still progress. The fact that they identified the arm, that they're out doing interviews. Is there anything new that you've learned, Rebecca?
They haven't given me any new information at all. Pretty much what you know is what they've told me also.
I think, Rebecca, that the doubling of the reward, though, is huge because money talks, sadly, to some of these people out there, and that could really make a difference.
Unfortunately, it does, and I'm really hoping that by doubling the reward, somebody who really does know something will come forward soon.
Yeah, absolutely, Matt. I want to ask you, because you've canvassed the area yourself. You've been out there repeatedly looking around, looking for clues. What have you noticed about that area, Matt? What stands out to you? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I know both of you. I'll start with Matt, though. I'm curious because I know that you've spent some time out there, Matt.
Well, during our first canvassing, the one item that stuck out the most was a lack of the Spanish-speaking Hispanic community in knowing that anything had even happened, including families that live just a couple hundred feet from the trail. We heard that a lot from several different volunteers. That's one of the reasons we're handing out bilingual flyers, and that was also the catalyst for the digital campaign that Mr. Rice had launched for us.
Which it sounds like has been successful so far. A lot more tips have come in. Obviously, Rebecca, we're so focused on the search, the manhunt for this guy. We want to get all the little details out with that, but I don't want to lose focus of who your sister was. And I want people to know I've talked to you guys before about this, but I just want people to remember how amazing she was. Tell us a little bit about Rachel, Rebecca.
Well, I can tell you that the thing that people noticed the most about her was her smile and her laugh. She had a great sense of humor. She was so much fun to be around. I would have to say our best memories were during the holidays. She was always the last one to show up when we all got together. But when she did show up, it got louder, it got warmer, it got brighter, and it got a whole lot funner.
And she was working on a book.
Yes, she was. She went through a lot of things in her life, and so she decided to start writing a book for young teen girls about developing good relationships and self-esteem.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider and
I hate when Banfield does that. I was like, man, she got me. I was trying to get it off before she, says, thanks for watching. Is he from Mexico or South American? I don't know. Maybe no familial DNA in our system to check. That's true. I didn't think about that. Like, I just thought maybe they could run genealogy, maybe, and it would get lucky. They would get lucky, but who knows where he's even from? If he came from Los Angeles, then I mean. If you've never been to Los Angeles, then you need to go because there are so many different ethnicities. There are just so many, like, especially when coming from like me, I'm from a small town where when I went to high school, we had one black kid. And then in the whole town, we had like one Asian family and that was it. Like, that was it. So when I go to LA, I'm the minority, I feel like. In a way. And I love that about it. But so there's just like every different possibility that you could think of, every concoction. And you never know, if they're people that come like over, if they're from Mexico or if they come over from somewhere else, if they're documented, if they're not. She was very lovely. She really was. She was so pretty. And some of those pictures, like the one with her with the short hair and it was like curly in the front. Ooh, she was pulling off that short hair and that long hair. Man, she was beautiful. Miami is like that too, Ida. Yeah. It's just like especially where Vincent's from. Vincent's from like this, it's a town outside of LA, and every single person there is Asian. Every single person but me when we go. It's so awesome though. I love it. I'm like, I feel like I don't even notice it. Like, but he's always like, there's not like anybody that looks like you around. And I'm like, oh yeah, there's not, but I'm here. I'm loud. I don't mind. Melting pot. Yes, Alicia. That's what I used to call my nieces and nephews, the melting pot kids. So I am going to look over at my notes for Suzanne because it's been a while since we haven't covered this on the channel, but it's been a while since I've looked at the case personally because I would look at it on my own. And then when I got on Twitter, I think it was Vincent was here. So it was like it was after the live it happened because we were getting ready to go run some errands. And I looked at my phone and I saw that like a tweet came through that Suzanne Morphew was found. And I'm like, what? Huh? What did you say? So I got on Twitter and I was like looking it up and I'm like freaking out. And Vincent's like, who's that? Cause like I've never talked about her on the channel. And so I'm like telling him and I was like, we need to go have a relook. So Nancy Grace covered this story in its entirety of it since it kind of happened. Her first coverage on this case was August 27th, 2020. So I figured I have a timeline that I put together for you guys. It's just like a short timeline. We'll go through my notes and then we'll watch a couple of the videos that Nancy did. And then we'll just break it up into 2 lives. That way we can watch, get familiar with the case, because I have a feeling there's going to be arrest very, very soon. Well, he was already arrested once and but I think they're going to keep him this time. So if you guys are not familiar with this case, let me see here really quick. I usually have like a picture up of the person that I'm talking about. I like this picture. She looks pretty. This picture, she looks pretty in all of her pictures, but I'll share this one here while we're talking about her, so you guys know who I'm talking about. Oh, and there I went off the screen. But this is Suzanne Morphew. She is a woman who went missing from her home and is it Chaffee? I know I'm saying that wrong. County, Colorado. I can't ever remember the name of it. And I looked it up too before the live, like 4 times. Let me see if I'll figure it out. But it was on Mother's Day, May 10th, 2020. She went missing. She was last seen by her husband, who was reportedly out of town on a work trip at the time of her disappearance. And his name is Barry. Suzanne was reported missing by a neighbor after she failed to return from a bike ride. So she goes out on a bike ride on Mother's Day and never returns. A search of the area was immediately launched, and Suzanne has yet to be found. Well, until now. Since her disappearance, law enforcement officials have conducted extensive searches of the area, including use of drones, cadaver dogs, and hundreds and thousands of volunteers. The investigation also included interviews with the family and some of her friends, as well as a reward for information leading up to a conviction in the case or for her safe return. The case of Suzanne Morphew's disappearance is ongoing. So it's still ongoing, and law enforcement officials continue to search now for any leads because they now have her remains. So over the last 3 years, she was missing. No one knew where she was. Like, we all speculated, but no one knew where she was. Come to find out, she's been on this property, and they found her. So they found her in, let me see exactly where I want to see where they found her. Forget the name of the town. I had it up and I thought I still had it. Okay, I cannot pronounce it. So let's see if I can. Sagwa County. So that was approximately 50 miles south from where she was reported missing. And I wanted to see. Okay. I'm going to share this one with you and then. Okay. And then we'll go to the timeline. Trying to see where we at. Okay. It says the remains of Suzanne Morphew, a Colorado woman who disappeared in 2020 and whose husband has been charged in her death, were found last week. Her husband, Barry Morphew, had been criminally charged, but the case was dismissed in April 2022 at the request of prosecutors who said the search for her body was getting closer. Suzanne Morphew's remains were found during a search on Friday, the Colorado Bureau of Investigation said, and the El Paso County coroner positively identified them Wednesday. Officials have not released where exactly the remains were found, but said they were located during an unrelated search near Moffett in Sagwa County. Barry Morphew has reportedly denied being involved in his wife's disappearance and what at the time was her presumed death. He was arrested in May 2021 and charged with first-degree murder and other counts. In April 2022, Prosecutors moved to have the case dismissed without prejudice, meaning they can refile. Morphew, a 49-year-old mother of two, was reported missing from her home. Here, I can figure out what this word is now because I say it wrong every time. Chaffee. In Chaffee County on May 10th, 2020. There have been no arrests in this case since the remains were found, the Colorado Bureau of Investigation said in a statement on Wednesday. Although locating Suzanne's remains is a critical component of this investigation and for her family, we are left with many more questions than answers. Barry Morphew's attorney, Iris Ayton, did not immediately respond to a request for comment Wednesday evening. She said that he is innocent. A voicemail left with the district attorney's office, which had charged Barry Morphew, was not immediately returned Wednesday evening. Morphew filed a $15 million lawsuit in May against prosecutors and others, accusing investigators of having tunnel vision and suspecting only him. Well, you know, they kind of have a right to. Let me share this with you here. It's not very long, so this is a little like timeline I put together. So we kind of went over it, but May 10th, that's when, you know, Suzanne Morphew went missing. She's 49 years old after going on a bike ride and not returning. Morphew's husband, Barry, offers a $100,000 reward. That reward would be doubled by a fund established to find Suzanne. Let's call her Susan. Suzanne. I don't know where I'm at, guys. Suzanne. August 30th, 2020, Suzanne's family launches its own search into her disappearance. September 2nd, 2020, a coworker of Barry Morphew reports Morphew smelling of chlorine when the coworker came to take over staying at Morphew's hotel room on May 10th, 2020. September 25th, 2020, Suzanne's brother reports that Barry Morphew will not let him search the Morphew home. And it was a big home. It was a very big home. September 30th, 2020, Chaffee County's Sheriff's Office debunks reports of human remains found. On October 8th, 2020, in news interview, Barry Morphew states beliefs that Suzanne is still alive. So he was saying she's not dead this whole time. And this was in Colorado. May 5th, 2021, Morphew's husband, Barry Morphew, is arrested on charges of first-degree murder, tampering with evidence, and attempting to influence a public servant in connection with the disappearance. May 8th, 2021, report alleges Barry Morphew uses Suzanne's ballot to vote for Trump. Had to add that in there. Man, that's just like, are you kidding? Like, even if she's just missing, like whatever it is, you know, if he's innocent and all this, and he thought she was just missing, which I don't believe that, you know, he's like, I'm just gonna fill out her ballot for her for Trump because I know that's who she'd want to be elected. I just thought that was kind of funny. April 19th, 2022, prosecutors dismissed charges against Barry Morphew without prejudice, meaning that they can retry him, and they're probably going to. May 9th, 2023, Barry Morphew files a $15 million lawsuit. So that he just followed this back in May. Maybe he shouldn't have filed that lawsuit. September 22nd, 2023, while searching for evidence in an unrelated case, agents with the Colorado Bureau of Investigation find human remains in Moffett. September 27th, El Paso County coroner confirms the identity of remains to be of those of Suzanne Morphew. So she's so pretty. So pretty. Her daughters are so pretty too. Yeah. What were they doing over there? You know, like they said that it was unrelated. They were looking for someone else. Oh, so I'm like, what were they looking for there? Okay. Wow. Well, whatever it was, maybe it was that $15 million lawsuit. They were like, uh-oh, guys, let's get this case wrapped up because we don't want to get sued. I don't think that was the case, but you know. Back from the big house to the big house. Yep. Yeah, pretty much so. Oh my Lordy, you're right. let me see here. I'm gonna play this one for you guys, and then. Okay, so I'll play this little clip here, and then we'll play the Nancy Grace episode that when she first started on this case. And this is just like 5 minutes long.
Good afternoon. We begin with a massive development in a case that received national
Why does it look
headlines.
so-
Investigators say they found the body of Suzanne Morphew, a mom who went missing on Mother's Day back in 2020. The Colorado Bureau of Investigation
I don't know why it looks so fuzzy.
says they found the remains in Saguache County last Friday.
About to read it. There we go.
Headlines. Investigators say they found the body of Suzanne Morphew, a mom who went missing on Mother's Day back in 2020. The Colorado Bureau of Investigation says they found the remains in Saguache County last Friday. Today, now 1,235 days after she went missing, Suzanne's remains have been confirmed to be found.
Her disappearance led to a massive search. Her husband faced charges for her murder, but prosecutors dropped those charges just 1 month before the trial. 9 News reporter Mark Salinger has been following this case since the very beginning. Mark, they haven't said exactly where this body was found. What do we know?
Yeah, Kim and Alex, an absolutely wild update this afternoon that none of us expected to get on this case that we've been following for years. We don't know exactly where they found her body at this point. CBI says investigators were searching near Moffett for an unrelated investigation when they found those remains. That's northwest of the Great Sand Dunes. They have not said how she died or released a cause of death or really any other information about her. At this point, CBI says it has not made any arrests, but it's just the latest development in a very complicated case.
It's been more than 3 years since Suzanne Morphew was last seen. 3 years since the day law enforcement believed she was killed. Investigators say this is the final picture Suzanne took on the afternoon of May 9th, 2020. It's the last piece of evidence that shows her alive. She sent the picture to a man in Michigan she was having an affair with. Suzanne was reported missing the following afternoon. The first deputies to arrive at the Morphew home found her mountain bike nearby in the woods off the road.
Can you try to call the husband and see what type of bike she has?
My daughter, she's at Barry's house.
Okay. All right, yeah,
Her husband, Barry, arrived home that evening after he says he was on a work trip in Broomfield. He immediately asks if an animal could have killed her.
Lion? Yeah, it was just like lion.
No, a lion? Mountain lion?
For months, state and federal investigators searched for Suzanne and any clues that might lead to answers. On May 13th, 2020, her bike helmet was found near the road. On May 22nd of that year, the FBI searched through a construction site in Salida that Barry had been working on.
I believe the house is just below us right now.
In September of 2020, Suzanne's brother Andy couldn't stand by and watch any longer. He organized a team of dozens of volunteers from around the country to search for Suzanne. Each search turned up few results.
Please, we'll do whatever it takes to bring you back.
It wasn't until May 5th, 2021, nearly a year after Suzanne went missing, that Barry was arrested.
And I wouldn't bring charges unless I was confident.
District Attorney Linda Stanley charged Barry with murder in the disappearance of his missing wife. She didn't reveal what evidence she had, but promised the public there was enough to convict him.
And it's about all the individuals that knew her and loved her and cared about her.
After a year of preliminary hearings and pretrial court appearances, prosecutors dropped the charges against Barry. Saying they don't have a case without the testimony of the expert witnesses, the judge ruled to exclude from trial.
That's what innocence looks like right there.
How do you feel, Barry?
The Colorado Bureau of Investigation says it has told the family. I spoke with Barry Morphew's attorney today just after the news release went out. When I talked to her, she didn't know the development that Suzanne was found. I told her on the phone. That leads us to believe, or at least question, whether or not investigators told Barry about the news that his wife's remains had been found. Again, at this point, we're told that no one has been arrested today, Kim.
Mark, you have covered this from the beginning. It's taken some crazy turns involving the district attorney, the investigation, but it all comes back to the fact that Suzanne was missing, presumed dead and missing. This is such a critical piece of evidence.
Oh yeah, this was what they were waiting for. When they when they dropped those charges just about a year ago at this point, the district attorney there was saying, we are waiting for the body to be found. At that point, we can bring charges back. It is important to note that that they can bring charges against Barry again if it comes to that. At this point, we have no idea whether or not he is a suspect or even wanted in this case. But if that turns out to be a case, they can bring charges again.
Yeah, well, there's so much more to cover, and we're glad you've been on it from the beginning. Thank you.
Man accused of killing 10 people.
Okay, yeah, he tried to say, did a mountain lion do it? Did the lion do it? No, a lion didn't do it. Look at her bike going down the hill. Like that looks like someone threw that in the bushes. Like I don't know. I mean, I guess you could be riding it down a hill like that, but I don't see that. It just looks like someone placed it up in the bushes. My lordy. Yeah, and me too. I wonder what that lawyer's thinking when she heard, hey, you know, they found Suzanne. She's probably like, oh, gotta go. Gotta call Barry. Gotta tell Barry. I mean, someone's gotta tell him. Might as well be his lawyer. Probably should be his lawyer. Shoot. That's scary. I mean, 3 years have gone by. Over 3 years. Do you think that he thought he got away with it after this long? After 3 years, 3.5 years? Because they get people after like 20 years. I would feel like I'd always be checking over my shoulder. But you know that he is not going to be sleeping tonight. Not by any means. I'm not sure which one. Oh, it's this one here. Okay. So, like I said, I was following this case just kind of like off of YouTube, you know, it was before I started my YouTube channel. And there's a lot of stuff that I don't remember or that I don't know. So I figured we could all get caught up with Nancy because Nancy's the best. Love her. I'll bring you up forward to Nancy. Just don't scare me tonight. She did that one night. That scared the crap out of me. So I figured we could start with, she did 4 different videos. So I figured we could play like 1 or 2 of them tonight and then play the other 2 on our next live. And we'll get caught up with what's going on and, you know, see what's going on with it. Oh, they're doing a 2-part movie that Lifetime's doing on Alec Murdoch. Oh, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that. Oh, Lord have mercy. Oh my gosh. Also, we may do like Crystal Rogers tomorrow, but we'll see how it how it goes because there's a break in that case too. Brooks Hawksman arrested. Thank God, thank goodness, you know. So there's a lot of really good news going on, like in true crime. There's a lot of really good things happening. So hopefully we will have better news about, Rachel Morin soon. So I'm going to go ahead and play Nancy here. It says Suzanne Morphew's husband's hotel room. Is this the right one? Yeah. Reeks of chlorine the day she goes missing. And this one was from 9/30/2020. Just make sure I got it all in the right order. All right. I'm sorry. I read the wrong one. 8/27/2020. I thought that was wrong when I read it. So this is going to be missing mom Suzanne Morphew, hubby caught on secret camera, new evidence revealed. So this is going to be the first one that she ever covered on this case. And I will be in the chat with you guys. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you don't mind just taking a second, smash that like button, all the good things. And if you want to become a member of our channel, we'd love to have you. So I will throw the link in the chat in just a moment. Sorry, that was loud. Sorry.
She's brilliant. She's beautiful. She's a mom, beautiful home, the works. She goes missing. In the last hours, we learn about a bombshell statement from the husband of missing mom, Suzanne Morphew. But what, if anything, does it mean? I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. Thank you for being with us here at Fox Nation and Sirius XM 111. We all recall when this mom, just precious, she's about that big, goes out biking, or so we're told, on Mother's Day. Now, you know what? If my husband did not give me a card or something. Just bring me a cup of hot tea. Anything. That would actually hurt my feelings. But hey, that's just me. Anyway, according to sources, she's out all by herself while her husband is out of town. Her daughter's on a camping trip. When they try to call her, she doesn't answer. That's not like mom. So let's take it from the top before we get to the new bombshell. Take a listen to this. Our friends at CBS 4.
And she went biking on Sunday. They're in the mountains about 20 miles west of Salida, Trevor. And then there was nothing from her. Tell us what you do know.
Alan, I'm willing to confirm that the bike was found on Sunday evening. The bike was found on Sunday evening, the night that she disappeared. And for more information on the bike or its condition, I would encourage you and everyone else to contact the Chaffee County Sheriff's Department.
Yeah, it has to be disconcerting to know the bike is found. The sheriff has said he does not believe that this was an animal. And so all of Coloradans really ought to be aware that there is a potential then, Trevor, that she might be somewhere well out of the county for all we know, which is why we need to make sure that we're aware of the situation.
Okay, let me introduce my panel because the first person I want to go to is Cheryl McCollum, director of the Cold Case Research Institute and crime scene expert. In fact, we had to call her in from a crime scene to join us today. Cheryl McCollum, I don't get it. I'm not knocking the nephew since he's the only one really speaking out, her nephew, but I find that really odd that he says, I'm willing to confirm her bike was found. Why so close to the vest? Why are we playing hide and seek with the evidence? Give me some evidence so I can help in the search. What's the deal?
Absolutely. And Nancy, here's the thing. They keep mentioning animals. Most people that live in a mountainous area like Colorado or near deserts,
We had that same cup 3 years
animals
ago.
may attack a human being, they know that carcass, for lack of a better word, is not going to be drugged more than 50 feet. So if this had been an animal attack, she would have been near that bicycle.
And that must be why the sheriff was saying at the get-go, I don't think this is an animal attack. In the last hours, a bombshell occurrence, a bombshell statement from the husband. But let me introduce my guest, Troy Slayton, renowned criminal defense attorney, joining me out of LA, Dr. Daniel Bober, forensic psychiatrist, chief, psychiatry, Memorial Regional Healthcare, and professor, Yale University School of Medicine. You can find him on Insta at Dr. Daniel Bober. Cheryl McCollum, as you know well. Lauren Scharf joining me. They're on the scene, Fox 21, Colorado Springs. She spoke with the husband, Barry Morphew, this week. Dan Ribicoff, and you'll see why we need Dan Ribicoff, polygraph expert and author of I Spy, How to Be Your Own Investigator. I love this book, I Spy. I just hope my children don't get a hold of it. At www.danribicoff.com, and Tyson Draper from the Draper Brothers YouTube channel, who secretly recorded Barry Morphew at the location where Suzanne's bike was reportedly found. I've got a lot of questions about how the bike got there and whether the scene was staged. But you know, when you're trying to put a case together, you start at the beginning. You try to analyze clues that may have been left behind. Take a listen to our friends at CBS 4.
The hardest thing. She's a beloved member of our family and the sweetest person that you've ever met.
The nephew of 49-year-old Suzanne Morphew talking about what it's like to go through the difficulty of a search that started after she went missing during a Sunday bike ride. Family has said her husband Barry was out of town in Denver. A friend called authorities when Morphew didn't return.
The bike was found on Sunday, the day that she went missing.
The sheriff has not yet shared information on the bike, but has told CBS4 the reason for her disappearance is probably not animals. Extensive searching in Chaffee County, about 20 miles west of Salida, has not brought an answer on what happened to Morphew.
extensive searching. That goes back to what Cheryl McCollum was saying earlier, that an animal carcass likely would not be dragged over 50 feet if bobcats or mountain lions got it, much less Suzanne Morphew. But I want to go to you, Troy Slayton, criminal defense attorney. You know your way around a courtroom. Can you just help me out? Why is it the nephew who's speaking out? Where's the husband?
Well, if the husband was my client, Nancy, I would tell him not to speak out. But
why would he need a criminal defense attorney telling him don't talk? His wife is missing. He says a mountain lion ate her. And I guess he ate her right down to her toenail polish, because there's not a trace anywhere of that happening.
He provided that as a plausible factual scenario, Nancy, but he knows that based on lots of similar cases like this, the first person, the most likely person that they're going to be looking at is him. So what he did,
what's wrong with that?
He gave 30 hours of testimony to the FBI and the CBI and answered all their questions.
Mm-hmm.
And
you know what, Dr. Daniel Bober? You know what? If my husband went missing, and yes, we never fought one time before the children were born. Now we're locked in Mortal Kombat at all times about the school, the scouts, the bedtime, the this, the that, the vegetarian, the junk food. It's whatever. If something happened to him and he went missing, I would be screaming to the mountaintops. If somebody wanted to investigate me, I would say, bring it on. But find David. Grill me, saute me, cut me up on the griddle, but find my husband. And I am not getting that. And you know what? I've held back on Morphew, but I don't understand it. So you explain it to me, Bober.
Well, I think what your guest said before, which is true, that, in this situation, the husband's always going to be the first person they're going to look at. So I think it's a delicate balance.
Okay, I don't see the delicate balance you're talking about. Because if it were my husband, Cheryl McCollum, if it were your husband, you'd put up a blockade, at the police department. You'd be laying on the courthouse steps. No stone would go unturned.
They could have my DNA. They could give me a polygraph. They could do whatever they wanted to get off of me so that they could start focusing on what truly happened to Walt if he were missing. I would hide nothing.
Take a listen to our friends at KWGN.
Day 3 of the search for 49-year-old Suzanne Morphew. The Chaffee County wife and mother first reported missing late Sunday afternoon. The search intensifying today along Highway 50 at the base of Monarch Pass.
Today I've got different types of searching dogs in the area, going back over the same area again.
Sunday afternoon, Morphew had set out for a bike ride along County Road 225 and West Highway 50. Chaffee County's sheriff says social media is actually getting to places where search crews cannot.
Well over about 180,000. It's reached well over 180,000 people on Facebook.
Authorities down south hope day 4 ends with promising news.
We brought on a lot of extra help to work on this case, and we're just looking for anything we can to try to find her.
Now, I did ask Mr. Morphew if he's interested in making a public plea. He says at this point it's simply too soon.
Too soon for what? How much time do you want to pass before you make a plea? Guys, we were talking about a missing mom, Suzanne Morphew. Seemingly everything went quiet, but we have not forgotten about Suzanne Morphew. And in the last hours, a bombshell straight out to our friend Lauren Sharp, Fox 21, Colorado Springs news reporter. You spoke to Barry Morphew this week. What did you learn?
He told me that there's not 1 ounce of evidence against him. And that,
wait. Lauren, you got to understand. You're on the scene. You're getting the information fast and furious. But I have to analyze what you're telling me. So the first gist of what he had to say is there's no evidence against me. You can't prove it. What about where is my wife? I wake up in the morning. She's not there. We don't have our hot tea together. I'm in living hell. What about that? Was there any of that?
Oh, absolutely, Nancy. He got emotional with me. He talked about how he misses her every single day and he's going to look for her every single day. And that, the two daughters are missing him, or missing her so much as well. They've been married for 26 years. He talked about how, she's a godly and loving woman, mother to his two children. He said he couldn't sleep and eat. He's sick without his wife, his best friend, his lover, he says, and he's just devastated. He did talk a lot about how, he is missing his wife a lot.
Let me ask you something, and I'm sure that this is going to make Troy Slayton pull his hair out, but you said he was emotional. Did he cry?
He did not.
Did his voice shake?
Yes.
His voice shook. Did it crack?
He stopped himself before I think he might have started crying. Yeah.
To polygraph expert Dan Ribicoff at danribicoff.com. I know defense attorneys like Troy Slayton will try to slice me up like a Thanksgiving turkey, but demeanor matters to me. It matters to me. Just recently, a fellow prosecutor passed away, and when I spoke to his wife, the first thing she said on the phone was, well, anybody that wants to buy a lake house? I didn't like that. Now, that means absolutely nothing because he passed away of natural causes, and that's a fact. But that just rubbed me the wrong way. What demeanor would you expect, Dan Ribicoff?
Well, certainly unusual affect can be a sign of deception. When someone who's near and dear disappears, obviously you're suffering trauma, but this has been going on for a while now, so the emotions should start to show. Should be crying, should be shaking, should have that tremble in the voice. So certainly an unusual affect is something that would raise my eyebrows as to not being kosher, as we would say in the investigative business.
Take a listen to our guest, Lauren Sharf at Fox 21. Speaking of polygraph, listen.
For the first time, responding to allegations made by Suzanne's side of the family that he refused polygraphs, saying, I've never been asked to do a polygraph. There is nothing that I'm hiding. I have given 30 hours of testimony to the FBI and the CBI. I've answered every question, every single question. Private investigator Dan Corsentino, who's worked in law enforcement for 25 years and was a former Pueblo County sheriff and Fountain police chief, says even if a person is asked to submit to a polygraph, it could be reasonable for that person to refuse.
An investigator may offer a polygraph only to have the subject or the person of interest refuse it based on legal advice, knowing the polygraph is not admissible in a courtroom.
Courtroom, schmortroom, who cares? We're trying to find his wife. Now, he says he offered to take a polygraph. Well, why hasn't that happened? Take a listen to more of our friend Lauren Sharf.
They want to stay anonymous, but say they're worried Suzanne's husband, Barry, is tampering with the investigation. His family member says Barry refused 2 polygraph tests and a critical analysis test. The family member also says data collected from Barry's truck doesn't match up with the information he gave investigators. As of Monday night, no clarification was offered on any of that information by the Chaffee County Sheriff's Office.
Okay, to you, Lauren Sharf, joining me, Fox 21, Colorado Springs. What evidence in the truck does not add up to evidence we've heard about?
Well, Barry didn't talk about the truck specifically. He spoke about a Bobcat, a machine that he has, but he didn't say exactly what was wrong with his timeline. He just said something, the timing was off with the Bobcat.
But in your report, you said that data collected from Morphew's truck does not match the story he gave investigators. Are you referring to his trip to Denver on Mother's Day?
I asked CBI to answer that question and they wouldn't tell me. And that's information from Suzanne Morphew's family that told me that the GPS
data from his Barry
Mhm.
Morphew's truck does not jive with his story. Is that correct? That's what the family's saying.
Yes.
Okay, let me
Yes,
go to
ma'am.
Tyson Draper joining us, the Draper Brothers YouTube channel, who secretly recorded Barry Morphew at the location where Suzanne's bike was found. Welcome, Tyson. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me on, Nancy. It's a pleasure to be here.
Tyson, what happened?
Well, you know, I'm listening to Lauren talk and you guys have this conversation, and, you know, I couldn't help but think of my interview with Barry. It was so candid, you know, and it's such a different interview because, you know, it's not Lauren Sharp with Fox 21. You know, it gives him a chance to get on there and cry and talk about all the things he's doing and not doing. But in my video, he didn't know he was being recorded, which is very valuable because we can see a real glimpse into his character and into where his emotions and his mind is at. And during that interview, I think it's real. And he said in there, he talked about how maybe a cat drug her up the hill, and he said it with zero emotion.
Okay,
And-
wait right there, Tyson. I thought you were going to tell me how wrong I was. And in my mind, I was thinking, you know what? Thank God. I'm wrong. I'm wrong. Okay. Because I've kind of held back on the husband because I didn't have enough information to make any type of assessment. But I was concerned he wasn't coming forward. I didn't see him out there searching. He wouldn't speak to the camera. I never have gotten a full explanation. I don't get that. My husband just drove 3.5 hours one way to a series of business trips, and I missed him, but he came back. I kept dragging for us to eat supper, hoping he'd come back. And just as I was fixing the plates, I heard the door open. Guys, we have some sound from Tyson Draper's, the Draper Brothers YouTube channel. Let's take a listen to that, Jackie. It's our cut 24.
Let me show you what happened. And I do have a reward. There is a reward, $210,000 reward. The bike was found at the bottom of the hill by that tree where the pink is. Oh, really? The first night there was a mountain lion. The officer seen it walk by the car, so we thought maybe she got attacked by a lion. We thought maybe she wrecked coming down this hill, a car coming around the corner fast, maybe was disoriented and got in the river. We've covered all of this really good, this triangle with search and rescue. So we're pretty comfortable that she's not in this triangle between the RV park, your truck, this road, and then the next road.
Okay, you are actually hearing Barry Morphew speak, apparently candidly. According to Tyson Draper of the Draper Brothers on YouTube, he didn't know that he was being recorded. Guys, we are talking about the disappearance of a really stunning young mom who seemingly went out bike riding on her own, all alone, on Mother's Day. Her children, her two girls, were out on a camping trip. They called her. Mom didn't answer. The bike at the bottom of a hill. We're hearing that right now from Tyson Draper, who, according to him, secretly recorded Barry Morphew. And I want to make a point. Colorado is a one-party consent state. Only one person in the conversation has to agree to the taping. Before I go to Tyson Draper, let's hear some more of that, Jackie. Let's hear cut 25.
What seems to have happened from the investigators, and they don't give much, and I've got private people working for me, is maybe she was abducted right here. And they found an article going west of hers. They won't tell us what it is. So they sent another team after they found the article that covered this hillside all the way down to the river pretty good. My concerns were this way and that way if it was the cat, because the cats, they dragged their prey up the mountain and out of people's. We can't find sign for the cat, but we got rain like right away. Could have washed away sign.
Okay, to you, Tyson Draper joining me, the Draper Brothers YouTube channel, who secretly recorded Suzanne Morphew's husband. I need to understand this terrain, because if someone, as the husband is saying, kidnapped her, see, in my mind, Tyson, she was out on a secluded trail. So if someone kidnapped her, they would have to either know that she was about to come down that hill and be lying in wait, or they would have to happen to be there and suddenly say, hey, there's a woman on a bike, I will steal her and take her within no trace. What is the area?
The area is very mountainous. It's very secluded. It's a mountain biking trailhead, and so there's people that park, up above on the 50, where the 225 and the 50 come together. But I imagine on that particular day, it being Mother's Day and all, there probably wasn't a whole lot of people out there. And the size of Maysville is pretty eye-opening too. When people look into that, it's 135 people is the population there, so it's not like a highly populated area. I just think that the whole abduction theory is just that the odds of that happening are astronomical.
Tyson Draper, he also mentioned that a car cut her off, and I'm trying to imagine a mountain trail with a road in the middle of it with a car. Is there a way a car could have cut her off without seeing it? I can't visualize how that could happen on a trail.
Okay, so I was there and actually made a video. I attached my camera on the front of my truck and kind of drove the same area that she would have ridden her bike on.
Brilliant.
And it was pretty eye-opening, Nancy, how short the bike ride was, number one, from her house on Puma Path to the spot where they found the bicycle. I kept my truck at about 10 miles an hour, simulating a bicycle ride. And it took me I think it was about 3 minutes to get from point A to point B. So it was a very short bike ride. Now, when you get to the spot where her bicycle was discovered, you're going to find that it's very interesting for several reasons. Number one, you come around a hairpin turn. There's a hairpin turn right there, and that's the first spot on that road before you get up to the 50 where there's no security camera signs, number one. There's security camera signs all up and down that road, no trespassing, you're on surveillance, etc. But as you come around that corner, there's no view from security cameras. That's number one. Number two, there's no way she drove off of there with a car running her off the road. And here's why, because as you come around that corner, again, it's such a steep incline. And any car that's coming around a hairpin turn, you got to think that they're not flying around that corner like 50 miles an hour. They're coming around at about 5 miles an hour. So they're going to see somebody on a bicycle, and they're going to have plenty of time to stop. It's just not a spot that's feasible to get run off the road. I mean, Suzanne driving a bicycle up a hill, she's going to have a tremendous amount of control to put her feet down, to stop before she rolls off that steep embankment.
I'm trying to digest what you're saying. So is this trail used by vehicles?
It is. It's a road. It's actually, it's the 225. And I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on how the Colorado Trail and the bike trail and all that intersects with this, but that actual road is a county road.
Okay. Is it dirt or paved?
It's dirt.
Is it a 1 lane or a 2 lane?
It's a 2 lane.
Is this her, Lauren Scharf, was this her regular bike ride? That's where she always went?
I wanted to know that question too, Nancy, but the sheriff's office won't tell us, and Barry Morphew didn't tell me either on the phone.
I got another question about the bike. Lauren Scharf or Tyson Draper, do you know if when the bike was found, was it laying on the ground? Was it damaged? Was it up on a kickstand if it has a kickstand? Was it leaning against a tree? How was it found? Do either of you know that? Tyson Draper, do you know?
Well, I can only tell you what I was told by Barry's own mouth, and he actually cut it short as he was explaining it in my video. He talked about how the bike was found down against a tree at the bottom of this canyon, and the wheel was upside down, or the wheel was bent, or something to that nature. And then he quickly shifted gears and went in another direction after he realized he probably shouldn't know that information, or I don't know what the situation was, but he changed gears there.
Okay, let's talk about what you just said, because in my mind, that's a critical piece of information. Cheryl McCollum, Director, Cold Case Research Institute and forensic expert. Cheryl, that's the first time we have heard anything about the condition of the bike. That's major, that the bike's at the bottom of a hill against a tree with one tire up and part of it bent. What does that tell you?
It tells me if she was run off the road or hit by a car, her body would have been right there with a bike. It again seems very staged to me. If you've got a dirt road where she had a major wreck, there would be dirt and dust under the seat of the bike. There would be dirt and dust inside the spokes, under the wheel realm. They would know that. If there's no blood, that's going to be critical. So again, the bike could have been thrown there, ditched there by somebody. Her body would not have been more than 5 or 10 feet from that bicycle.
I'm trying to figure out exactly what. Let me understand something, Tyson Draper. You're saying that this is the spot where there's no video surveillance. Is there video surveillance up to that spot?
Yes. The day that Lauren Sharp and I actually went out there one day, and we were making it a point to look for security cameras, and we were looking up in the trees, and we were looking, anywhere that we could see it. And so when we saw a security camera sign, we would stop and we would kind of investigate. And there's one that's probably about 50 yards from where the bike was discovered, but you can't see it because you come around this hairpin turn on that bridge. There's a little bridge there, and you come around. And so it's just the first area where somebody would dump a bike that is just outside of security surveillance.
Was there security surveillance of her? Actually, guys, we're talking about the disappearance of Suzanne Morphew, and we're learning in a bombshell reveal from the husband more information. So was there video surveillance to either Lauren Sharf or Tyson Draper of her going on a bike ride at all that day? Lauren?
Nancy, no one has said that or saw that she was on a bike ride, and that we have not seen any surveillance video.
So Tyson Draper, how can that be? If this is surveilled by, let me just say, home security cameras that catch people going by on the road. Let's just go with that as a surveillance video. You're saying that this turn where a bike was found was the first spot where there was no video surveillance. So that means there should have been video surveillance of her going on the bike ride, right?
Well, that's exactly what I questioned the first time I went out there. I've been out there a couple of different times now, Nancy, but the first time I was there, it was 3 weeks after Mother's Day. And so it wasn't that long. A lot of time hadn't gone by. And so I was wondering about these security cameras that were up by the Morphews home, because they had blocked off, I don't know if it was Barry or the CBI or who had blocked off Puma Path with barricades, and they wouldn't let you through there to Barry's house. And so there was a back way that went, that somebody just made with a tractor or whatever. And right there by this homemade road, there was signs that said, do not enter, security surveillance, this and that. And everything that I've been able to uncover so far about the Morphews video surveillance is that they had it on the house, they have it on the property, but it was off or down or something that day on Mother's Day.
That day only, Tyson?
That's what I was told, and I can't verify that 100%, but I have talked to people that were very close to the situation, and they said that they were wondering what happened to the footage, and they said that the cameras were down that day for whatever reason.
What was the seminar, Lauren Sharf?
Barry told me he was actually at a job site for his lawn care company or his construction company. And I asked him if there was anyone with him, and he said no, they were coming the day afterwards.
Why did he have to go on Mother's Day?
Good question.
Why did he have to spend the night?
Good question.
Okay, I want to point out, and Troy Slayton, you can back me up on this. This guy, Barry Morphew, the husband, he's not a suspect. He's not been named a person of interest. I'm looking at him because statistically, you always look at lover, boyfriend, husband, ex. Always. That's where you start, because statistically, they're more likely to have a reason or a desire to get rid of a spouse. That doesn't mean Barry Morphew had anything to do with this. But
that's true, but you don't have to be named publicly a suspect. You don't have to be named publicly a person of interest, but he absolutely is. You know, Nancy, and Cheryl McCollum, the forensic expert, knows that they're looking at everything forensically relating to him, and you can understand why he's so suspicious of the investigators in this case, because his friend was there when they were discovering the bike, and he feels that the law enforcement, that the sheriff's department completely botched the investigation by obliterating some of the evidence.
Let's talk about what Barry Morphew is saying. As Troy Slayton is accurately pointing out, no, he hasn't been named a suspect, but he probably feels like a suspect because, of course, cops are looking at him because that's SOP, standard operating procedure.
Nancy Grace.
Jump in.
Here's the reality. Let's say somebody kidnapped her. How lucky is that person that the day they choose to kidnap this woman is Mother's Day and her 2 adult children aren't there? And her husband, as loving as he is not there. And the cameras where she chooses to go ride are not working. And the husband's not calling her, not saying, hey, honey, what do you want to do on Mother's Day? I'm coming home as quick as I can. No, he first says he's at a training. Then he says, no.
Okay, see if you can get
He's not calling.
What
her.
You cut out on me. You said first he said he was at a training, and then what?
Then he changes that he's not at a firefighter training in Denver. He's at a job site. So he's changing it. So for somebody that knows law enforcement is probably going to be looking at him, he has done everything to make himself more and more suspicious. He can take a private polygraph. He can say, hey, you know what? Come, you don't even have to get a warrant. Come look at my house. Take my truck. Take my Bobcat. I did not hurt her. He hasn't done that here. He's saying police have botched it. They've obliterated stuff. A cat drug her up a hill. He's told us everything that makes him look more and more suspicious.
Dan Ribicoff, polygraph expert, author of I Spy, How to Be Your Own Investigator at danribicoff.com. Dan, how hard is it to get a private poly? I bet you'd do one.
Sure. Oh, absolutely. I'd be glad to polygraph him. Very easy to get a polygraph. He may have taken a polygraph test with his attorney. The results may not have been what they wanted them to be. He may have failed, or he may have gotten it inconclusive, and they may not turn that over because that would be privileged with his attorney. But what's being said here leads me to say that a person who is innocent would generally be very cooperative. Here you have blame shift. He's blaming the police for botching it. He's blaming an animal for kidnapping his wife. And in credibility assessment, we say if it doesn't make sense, it's generally not true. And that's what's adding up here. What Barry is doing is certainly making him a suspect.
What is a critical analysis test, Dan Ribicoff?
Critical analysis test can have several meanings. Depends on what the agency is utilizing. But usually it would be a forensic type of interview where they would conduct a structured interview with the subject and score it like a polygraph. We use a method called FAINT, which is Forensic Assessment Interview Test, where I would interview you ask you questions and then score it plus, minus, +1, +2,
Got it.
0. And that's almost like a polygraph with my eyes and ears.
Tyson Draper, the Draper Brothers YouTube channel. I understand that your recorder interaction with the husband, Barry Morphew, during that, Morphew noticed that you were recording him with a GoPro and asked him to ask you to stop. Why did he not want to be recorded?
Well, that's the $1 million question right there. That's the one that I cannot answer, Nancy. He did mention that he said, would you mind turning that off, because we've been troubled and we've been bothered by the media, and we don't want any media whatsoever. And so that was coming right directly from Barry. So
Tyson Draper, any evidence he's got a girlfriend?
that I don't know. I've just heard rumors, and I don't know. I would not be the best person to ask on that.
What about it, Lauren
because
Sharp? Does he have a girlfriend?
Nancy, he told me he's never dated anyone else besides Suzanne, and they've been together for 32 years.
I still don't know why he had to have a hotel room on Mother's Day to look at a job site. Is it an hour and a half away to Denver from there? Lauren?
No, it's more like close to 3 hours away.
3 hours. Same, 6 one, half dozen the other. I would still get home for Father's Day. You darn right. I mean, but that's me. Maybe it was okay with them. Maybe they were going to get together that night and celebrate. Maybe there's a lot of reasons he wasn't there during the day. One last question to Tyson Draper. Again, explain to me his demeanor. And if you could tell me, are mountain lions prevalent in the area?
Well, his demeanor was, I said it the night after it happened. I said it and I'll say it forever. He was very nervous. And there was a lot of red flags. There was just things that weren't sitting right with me. And that's where I'm at with it. Yeah, there's a lot of red flags. You can go back and watch the video and pick it apart. But his demeanor was very nervous, like he was hiding something. And if you look at her brother, Andy Mormon, he's coming out and he's saying, I don't care about anything else other than finding my little sister. And that's, in my opinion, that's the way Barry should be acting. Like, no matter what it takes, let's just find Suzanne. I don't care if media is here. I don't care about X, Y, and Z. Let's just find my wife. And I just don't see that same attitude with Barry that I do with her brother.
I'm going to go through and watch the entire Draper Brothers YouTube channel video of Morphew. But
yes,
you said that there were red flags.
Yes, please do. The day I was there, it was 3 weeks after Mother's Day, and he told me that day that he was up there preparing a job site, that he was getting his workers all put together. There was something that they had that went wrong with the job, and they were up there to fix it. He doesn't normally work on Sundays, especially on Mother's Day, but this was a special case where they had to go fix this job or something.
Guys, the tip line, 719-312-7530. Please help find Suzanne Morphew. Nancy Grace, Crime Story, signing off. Goodbye, friend.
Okay. So that was the first episode. She's going to kind of take us through, everything that's going on. But that was a good beginning. So I actually learned some things that I didn't know before. I didn't know that there was a YouTuber out there that filmed Barry. I don't remember seeing that. I may have seen it, but it was 3 years ago. Right when this case first came out. When she went missing, and probably for the first 6 months to a year, I kind of followed what was going on. And I don't know if it was, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was working or something just took over. And then there was nothing happening in that case forever. And then all of a sudden she's been found. So I figured that we could watch, I went ahead and did a poll just in case, because I didn't know if you guys were interested or not. Want to make sure. But I'll go ahead and play the next Nancy Grace. So she's going to have 4 episodes in all. So I'll play 2 tonight, and then we'll play 2 on our next live, because we'll be covering probably cover maybe like this case, and then like maybe Suzanne, and then we'll do Crystal Rogers or something together, like we did kind of tonight with Rachel Morin Updates, because there was a big update in that case as well. Or maybe we'll split it up. We'll do 2 lives again. Yeah, I don't think she ever went on that bike ride either. I agree. I don't think she did either. That bike looks like it was either thrown down there or it was like thrown up, just like thrown into the bushes, in my opinion, anyway. And I don't really believe anything that Barry says. He's not very convincing to me. But they didn't have the evidence to keep him behind the bars the first time. And they did. I understand you don't want to go to trial if you don't have a body. In a way, I can understand that, because they don't have that tangible object. But she had 2 daughters. She had a beautiful home. Like, why she had an alleged lover. So why would she, just want to leave all of that for what, for nothing? And then let me know if you guys remember if she had her phone on her. I don't know if anyone answered that in the chat. You guys probably did. I just missed it. Yeah, and that was another thing too. The time, the amount of time that she was on that bike ride before she would have been abducted. 3-minute bike ride. I mean, that's in the woods, out in God's country, because that's out there. Like you're not seeing anybody for a while. You would have to know the area pretty well, I would say. Oh, I'm not even on the camera. I thought I was I'm on the other side now. Thought I was on the camera. I'm not. Yeah, and I think they're going to arrest. I think they're going to arrest Barry. They're probably just getting all their stuff together. They're probably like, well, now we have the body. Let's link everything else together. So we'll go ahead and play this, and I'll be in the chat with you guys. And if you guys don't mind just taking a second to hit the like button, appreciate you guys all being here tonight. I know a lot of people are streaming about Suzanne, so I appreciate you guys being here.
A beautiful wife and mother seemingly goes missing on Mother's Day. You may ask, why was she all alone? That's a good question. But what became of Suzanne Morphew, or at least her body? In the last hours, a stunning development. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. Thank you for being with us here at Fox Nation and Sirius XM 111. For those of you just learning about the Suzanne Morphew case, take a listen to this.
She went biking on Sunday. They're in the mountains about 20 miles west of Salida, Trevor, and then there was nothing from her. Tell us what you do know.
Alan, I'm willing to confirm that the bike was found on Sunday evening. The bike was found on Sunday evening, the night that she disappeared. And for more information on the bike or its condition, I would encourage you and everyone else to contact the Chaffee County Sheriff's Department.
Yeah, it has to be disconcerting to know the bike is found. The sheriff has said he does not believe that this was an animal. And so all the Coloradans really ought to be aware that there is a potential then, Trevor, that she might be somewhere well out of the county for all we know, which is why we need to make sure that we're aware of the situation.
The sheriff has repeatedly stated that Suzanne Morphew, who goes missing on Mother's Day, was not taken by an animal such as a mountain lion. There was no sign she was dragged away, and there was no sign of a struggle, and there is no sign of her body. Typically, when an animal attacks, the body is not that far away from the crime scene. Not the case here, but in the last hours, a stunning development as we learn what the co-worker of Suzanne's husband has to say about those critical hours when Suzanne goes missing. With me, an all-star panel to put it together and break it back down. Kirk Nurmi, you know his name well. He was the lead defense attorney in the Jodi Arias murder trial and author of Trapped with Miss Arias Parts 2 and 3, My Final Words. I certainly hope not. Also with me, renowned psychiatrist, Dr. Debbie Joffe-Ellis, psychologist, adjunct professor, Columbia University. You can find her at DebbieJoffeEllis.com. Donald Schweitzer, another famous name joining us, former LA detective, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor at PasadenaLawOffice.com. Welcome, Donald. But first to Lauren Scharf, Fox 21 Colorado Springs news reporter on the case from the beginning. Lauren, we just heard from our friends at CBS 4 Denver. But Lauren, take a listen to Erica Gonzalez, KDVR, Fox 31.
A coworker of Suzanne's husband came forward with this new information about the hotel room in Broomfield, Jeff Puckett said, and Barry Morphew told him to go to Denver. However, Puckett says that he didn't see Morphew because he had already left due to a family emergency. Puckett told the Daily Mail that when he got into the Holiday Inn on May 10th, the room smelled like chlorine and it was scattered with wet towels. He also said that he found a pile of mail inside of that room, including a letter about property insurance, which he says he later turned over to the FBI. A manager at the hotel confirmed they do not use chlorine to clean guest rooms and have handed security footage over to police. Additionally, the hotel told our news partner the pool was also closed because of COVID-19. Suzanne Morphew was reported missing back on Mother's Day.
Wow, that is a lot of information. And having prosecuted felonies, including cleanups, attempted cleanups of crime scenes for many, many years, chlorine bleach or bleach itself cannot break down deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA, right? It does not get rid of evidence the way it's portrayed to, for instance, on TV movies. So first to you, Lauren Scharf, Fox 21 Colorado Springs news reporter on the case from the get-go. Lauren, a lot happening. Now, who is this co-worker of Suzanne Morphew's husband? Who is he?
So Nancy, Jeffrey Puckett is a contractor for Barry, and this is the only job that Barry had hired Jeffrey Puckett for. And it was just, he asked him the day before Mother's Day to help him with this job. And even Jeffrey Puckett called him to make sure he still needed him to come Sunday. Around noon is when he called him on Sunday.
Stop,
and he said,
stop. I've got to digest what you're just telling me, because I've learned, have you not learned this? Donald Schweitzer, former detective, former prosecutor, now defense attorney, high profile LA detective and now defense attorney. Donald Schweitzer, every fact matters. And what I'm just hearing Lauren Scharf say from Fox 21 Colorado is that Suzanne Morphew's husband calls a contractor he doesn't know, has never worked with him before. Okay, that's what I mean, hasn't worked with him before, on a Saturday, and asks him to travel to Denver the following day, which is Mother's Day, to help him on a job. You don't see a problem with that, Schweitzer?
I see it as a significant piece of the puzzle, Nancy. I think that there's as a detective, what you're going to do is look at all the things that don't make sense, and then start looking at, if it were true, what would the answers be? For example, is he using, chlorine as a landscaper to build a wall? You would go out there and ask people, those common sense questions. But certainly,
Schweitzer, Schweitzer, look. You're a great trial lawyer. There's no doubt about that. You're a great detective. But why would it be using chlorine for a work scene in his hotel room? And again, the husband is not a suspect. He has not even been named a person of interest. Although, practically speaking, cops always, whenever a woman goes missing or is killed, you look at the husband, the ex-husband, the boyfriend, the ex-lover, the stalker, the admirer, because statistically, that is where you will find the perp. That doesn't mean Barry Morphew is the perp or that there is a perp. Let's just be clear. But based on this new evidence, back to you, Donald Schweitzer. So you say maybe he's using chlorine at the work site, but this is his hotel room.
Yeah, but, he's at the hotel room because he's supposedly working, out there. I mean, that's why he's not at home on Mother's Day. But, you asked the question about, why is he contacting people he doesn't know? Did he work on the weekend? Those are the type of facts that, lead you to start at least looking at in a direction. And the direction, of course, is at Barry. Why is he not there on Mother's Day? Why is he contacting people that he doesn't really know to help do some work
remotely, and it just doesn't make sense. And it would be something I would certainly keep in the back of my pocket as I was investigating this case.
And again,
Nancy?
Donald Schweitzer, we know Morphew has not been named a suspect, but in order to find the real perp, you have to get past the husband first. I hear Lauren Sharf jumping in, Fox 21. Go ahead, Lauren.
I was just going to say that Jeffrey Puckett and Barry knew each other from another company, but this is the first time that he had asked him to do a job for him.
So am I correct in the sense, as I stated, they had never worked together? He had never called on him for a job before. Is that correct, Lauren?
Nancy, I would say that they have worked together on a different project for a different company, but never have they worked. He has never worked for Barry.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, I believe we've nailed that down fairly well, Lauren. So let me understand. You call a guy on Saturday asking him to go out of town on Mother's Day. Lauren Sharf, Fox 21, Colorado. So the job did not start until Monday?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So why would you have to leave the day before?
So when I spoke with Barry, he told me that he, wanted to get out there to make sure that the site was ready and prepped before his guys got out there. So this Jeffrey Puckett, he gets out there Sunday evening, and he gets into the hotel room that Barry had gotten for him, and he said it reeks of chlorine, and he never saw Barry, but he knew that. Oh, go ahead.
Guys, we are talking about the disappearance of Suzanne Morphew. And in the last hours, stunning developments from the husband's co-worker. And when I say co-worker, I mean that this guy, Jeffrey Puckett, was called that Saturday before Suzanne goes missing on Mother's Day and asked to go out of town on Mother's Day to work a job with the husband, Barry Morphew. He had never asked Puckett to work for him on a job before, although they knew each other from a previous work site. So Lauren Sharf, back to the work site. Before I get to the chlorine, let's finish discussing what we learned about the work site. When Jeff Puckett got to the work site, I assume he went to go look at the work site. Was there any equipment there?
That's a good question. And I asked that same question to the contractor, Jeffrey Puckett. He said, as far as machinery wise, there was nothing. He also talked about how there wasn't really dirt to do the job as well. And so because there wasn't the equipment, the tools that he needed to do the job, he got upset and he decided, what the heck, I'm just going to leave. So he left Tuesday afternoon.
Okay, let me understand something. What was the job? What was Puckett supposed to be doing there?
So they were fixing a wall in Broomfield that I guess his guys, Barry's guys from previously a year ago messed up and it wasn't straight. So they had to fix the retaining wall to like an interstate.
Oh my, that's a big job. Oh gosh. Okay, so Kirk Nurmi, this is the defense attorney for Jodi Arias and author. Kirk Nurmi, right there. Have you ever driven along the interstate? For Pete's sake, you're in California. I mean, you're always on the interstate. When you are doing work on a retainer wall at the interstate, that calls for a lot of dirt and a lot of equipment. And it will sit over there and you drive past it for weeks and then suddenly one day it's gone. What do you make of this? There's no equipment. There's no dirt.
Nancy, it goes to what Donald said before, some things not making sense, not adding up. And we look at this case overall, we start thinking about the prospects of there being different prospective crime scenes, right? We have the hotel room, we have this construction site. And remember, Nancy, at this construction site, a woman was awoken, in the late night on that weekend with some construction noise near this area that would be an unusual timing. And we also have, of course, the area where the bike was tossed. So these are the areas that investigators are going to look at, and it's certainly suspicious, especially when we think about this woman being woken up in the middle of the night with construction noise.
Now, it's my understanding, Lauren Sharp, the woman woken up in the middle of the night by Morphew's construction equipment is at a different location than where Jeff Puckett was called to in Denver. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. That's in Salida, which
Okay.
is only like 15 minutes from the Morphew house.
Got it. I want to go back to Puckett getting called by Morphew's husband to an out-of-town job site. When he gets to the job site, there's no crew, there's no dirt, there's no equipment, and I take it there's no supplies, correct?
There's 2 other workers, but yes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Who were the 2 other workers?
It was a gentleman named Cassidy and a woman named Morgan.
I mean, why were they there? What were they supposed to be doing? Did Morphew call them too?
That's a good question. I am waiting to talk to them.
Because I'm curious. They were there too, but there was nothing for them to do. I mean, what was Puckett's role? Was he supposed to just go analyze it and assess what needed to be done, or was he supposed to actually do something without any equipment?
I mean, he was so frustrated with, what the situation was. He was really upset that he couldn't do what he was supposed to do because he didn't have the equipment to do it.
Interesting. So he calls Donald Schweitzer. He calls this guy out of town on Mother's Day. The guy gets there, I assume leaving his family, spends the night, waits 2 days. Morphew never shows up. There's no equipment and there's no dirt. What do you make of it?
Nancy, I think that Puckett's reaction is key to everything. If I was encountered by that type of a reaction, I'd want to find out, normally when he goes to jobs like that, does this ever happen? How often has this ever happened where he shows up, from a call from somebody like Barry and there's nothing to do? I mean, it's a significant piece of evidence, I think.
I agree with you, Donald, and you know how this is going to be spun out. It's going to be argued by somebody somewhere that Morphew set all this up to create some sort of an alibi, a construction site alibi. See where I'm going with it, Schweitzer?
Yeah. And you wouldn't be crazy for arguing that.
So how could this be spun into an argument, Kirk Nurmi?
An argument for what, Nancy? His alibi?
Yes.
It's as disjointed as it is. He's going to sit there and try to claim he was somewhere else. He has tried to set himself up, and actually the prosecution will probably do this just as well as he did. His efforts to try to set up these alibis, the state's going to argue as evidence of his guilt, and the defense attorney is going to sit there and say, these alibis are legit. The fact that these guys are upset with my work, it's just all their angst, and I'm completely innocent.
You're right.
And it's just, I'm a victim
Nurmi,
of circumstance.
this is what, you're right. You're onto it. This is what the defense would argue. If this were a trial, the defense would say, it is a legitimate job. Morphew had to leave because his wife went missing. That's why he wasn't there. He just simply didn't have the dirt or the equipment yet. That's all that there was. This is not a fake alibi. But when Jeff Puckett gets there, Lauren Sharp, there's nobody there. Why was Puckett, as I'm saying, coworker, why is Puckett in Morphew's room? Why did he go in Morphew's room?
Yeah, so Jeffrey Puckett told me that Barry got this room for him. And when he goes into the hotel room, he instantly smells, chlorine. And he also, the next morning, he says he saw a piece of mail in the trash and wanted to know what it was. And it was addressed to Barry, and it had something to do with property insurance. And, he also saw the towels on the ground, and he told me that it really looks like, Barry had came in there, showered, laid on the bed for a few minutes or whatever, and then just left, washed up and then just left.
So let me understand this, Lauren Sharp. This is a room that Barry Morphew gets for the coworker, Jeff Puckett, not for himself. And then Puckett gets there, and the room has wet towels all over everything, and it reeks of chlorine. Somebody's been on the bed, and there's a Morphew letter in the trash can. Are you sure that Jeff Puckett said this room was for him, Jeff Puckett?
Yeah, he told me that. There was even his name on the door.
Well, did Barry Morphew ever have a room of his own?
Not that I know of.
Okay, guys, we are talking about the unusual disappearance of a mom, a wife, Suzanne Morphew. She goes missing on Mother's Day, which to me is important. A lot of people may not think it's important, but I guarantee you women on the jury will think it's important. She's all alone on Mother's Day. Her husband is in Denver. I think that's about 180 miles away from where they are near Salida. And now, from what we understand, the husband believes his wife was taken by animals off a bike route. But what we are learning in the last hours from a coworker of Barry Morphew is just very unusual. Let's hear cut 27, please. Erica Gonzalez, KDVR Fox 31.
A coworker of Suzanne's husband came forward with this new information about the hotel room in Broomfield, Jeff Puckett said, and Barry Morphew told him to go to Denver. However, Puckett says that he didn't see Morphew because he had already left due to a family emergency. Puckett told the Daily Mail that when he got into the Holiday Inn on May 10th, the room smelled like chlorine and it was scattered with wet towels. He also said that he found a pile of mail inside of that room, including a letter about property insurance, which he says he later turned over to the FBI. A manager at the hotel confirmed they do not use chlorine to clean guest rooms and have handed security footage over to police. Additionally, the hotel told her news partner the pool was also closed because of COVID-19. Suzanne Morphew was reported missing back on Mother's Day.
Interesting. The pool was closed, but the room reeked of chlorine. You know, a lot of people believe they can clean a crime scene with chlorine or chlorine bleach. You can't. I just had another thought, Lauren Scharf, and I'm going to circle back to you, Dr. Debbie Jaffe Ellis. Lauren Scharf joining me, Fox 21 Colorado, on the case from the get-go. Let me understand something. So the coworker gets there when on Sunday, Mother's Day?
It was Sunday evening. He said it was after 6 o'clock.
Do you think it was before 7?
That's he didn't nail down at the exact time. He just really kind of just made it general as far as Sunday evening.
Okay, so what I'm learning is Barry Morphew never had a room for himself. Is that right?
That we know of, yes.
Huh. So what, was he going to sleep in the bed with Puckett? I hope it was a double bed. That's not the kind of work travel accommodations I want to walk into. So, okay, you're telling me that Morphew, there's no evidence Morphew had his own room, but that he had been using Puckett's room. Now, the timing is really important, and I'll tell you why, Lauren Scharf. Because when was it everybody started realizing that Suzanne was gone?
So the 911 dispatch call to Chaffee County Sheriff's Office was just before 6 p.m.
And who made the call? The neighbor?
That was what the original first press release said, that yes, a neighbor did call them.
When Puckett gets there at sometimes after 6, and the 911 call wasn't made until around 6, how did Morphew know there was a family emergency, Lauren Scharf?
Good question, Nancy.
Can you just very quickly run through the timeline with me? Because maybe I've got my wires crossed, but if she wasn't reported missing till around 6, and Puckett gets there to meet Morphew around 6, Morphew was already gone because of a family emergency. How did he know there was a family emergency to leave for Lauren Scharf? Go through the timeline with me real quick.
Yeah, so it sounds like Barry and his daughters were, wondering, trying to get a hold of Suzanne Morphew, and they couldn't. They tried texting, they tried calling, couldn't get through to Suzanne Morphew. And so that's when they, sounded the alarms and wanted to get a neighbor to go check out, the house to see if she was around. The neighbor supposedly went out there, couldn't find Suzanne in the home, looked at that there was 2 vehicles in the garage, and there was a missing bike. And that's when the whole, dispatch call was made.
Now, I may have this backwards. Did Barry Morphew go to Denver on Saturday night?
He told me that he woke up around 5 a.m. and left and went to Denver area to do this job prep.
Barry Morphew? Barry Morphew?
Barry Morphew told me this, yes.
So he was at home on Saturday night?
That's what he told me.
Okay. So he doesn't leave until Sunday morning around 5 a.m. The timing of this is very, very unusual. I don't see how it works. What about you, Kirk Nurmi? How does the timing work? If she wasn't reported missing until 6 p.m. and the coworker gets to Denver around 6 p.m. or after 6 p.m., how is he already gone? How did he know she was missing?
I think we're going to have to, and investigators are probably looking at the cell phone records, the data, the calls, because we're going to need to answer your questions, we're going to need to have some more precision on the exact minutes. It can't just be around this time, around that time.
Yeah, you're right.
They're going to take a look at the specifics of it to say, okay, this is when he reacted, this is when he left.
And to you, psychologist joining me, Dr. Debbie Joffe-Ellis, adjunct professor, Columbia. Dr. Debbie, and it may be a matter as innocent as the daughters calling dad on his cell going, we can't find mom, and he jumps in his truck and takes off, leaving them to make sure 911 is called. Doesn't necessarily make sense to me that he didn't call 911, but it may have happened that way.
Yes, it very well may. As you mentioned, I'm a psychologist. I'm not a detective, but so far listening, I haven't myself heard evidence that's really suspicious. The business with the clawing, some people are very obsessive since COVID and before, and he may have mistakenly or not thought that if he was even going to spend a little bit of time in the room using the shower, lying on the bed, maybe he, and again, I'm totally speculating, wanted to thoroughly clean the room in that way. And in terms of not being around for Mother's Day or taking on a job for Mother's Day, it would be really useful, I think, to find out whether in the past it was important for him to be with his family on occasions. If there was a job opportunity, was earning money more important than celebrating occasions? So I think these are important questions as a layperson, not a detective, that I would want to know the answers to.
You know what? You brought up a really good point, Dr. Debbie. I'm not trying to nail Barry Morphew. In fact, I hope he has nothing to do with this. I'm trying to figure out what happened to Suzanne. And whenever I see something that seems unusual or an inconsistency, I want to investigate it. I always think of Mark Class. I'm sure you're all familiar with him. The founder of Class Kids. His daughter Polly went missing from her own home at a sleepover with her and her little girlfriends. The first thing the cops did was beat down his door. He and his wife were divorced at the time, because the first place you look is the dad, right? He immediately said, take my DNA, take my fingerprints. I've been here. I'll do whatever you want. You have to clear the immediate family before you can find the real perp. So this is SOP, standard operating procedure. Take a listen to our friends at KDVR Fox 31.
What happened to Suzanne Morphew? It's a question still being asked nearly 4 months after the mother vanished.
She could light up a room with her smile.
just a beautiful human being.
The 49-year-old reportedly left her Chaffee County home to enjoy a bike ride. She never returned.
Suzanne would never leave her home or her daughters. There's just no way.
Suzanne's older brother, Andrew Mormon, suspects foul play. He spoke to our affiliate in Indiana during a vigil for Suzanne on Saturday. He used the event to drum up support to find her.
The investigators have asked us to stay reasonably quiet, and we have. But I'm past that point now. It's time to get this out in the media and get some volunteers together and march on Salida, Colorado, and find my little sister.
Andrew has already been to the Salida area, showing up the day after Suzanne was reported missing.
I woke up that morning, I looked out the window of the place I was staying, and I just cried because the mountains were so big, and it was like looking for a needle in a haystack.
That's got to be overwhelming when you are looking for one person in rugged terrain of that nature. Guys, I want you to take a listen to our friends at Fox 21 right now.
The reasons he's been silent in the days and months following Suzanne's disappearance is finger pointing.
I don't know why the husband doesn't speak out, right? Any info is good info if you're trying to find out what happened to the mother of your children.
And the unfair perception that he's done something wrong. Juliet Fitzgibbons, an avid biker, found herself riding in the same area where Suzanne's bike was allegedly recovered.
And I actually missed seeing the ribbon. I wish there was a bigger kind of memorial for her here.
Others.
Someone had knocked on the window, and it was Barry Morphew.
Questioning his search methods.
He went to write down like a description of maybe what she was wearing.
Tiffany Butala, a manager at Poncha Market, says Barry came to the store on May 12th with a brief note.
I really thought it was weird because he didn't explain what her color her eyes were, or her hair, or anything about her, you know, like how tall she was or anything.
At that time, Barry had not spoken publicly at all.
You know, I'm trying to make sense of everything. To our friend Lauren Scharf joining us, Fox 21, Colorado Springs. Lauren, what is Barry Morphew doing now? He says, quote, I have people, private people working for him on the disappearance of his wife, Suzanne. What do you know about that?
I mean, I tried to talk to Barry yesterday, and you know, I've been wondering the same thing. He did tell me a week or so ago when I did speak with him on the phone that he says he's, you know, searching for her every single day. And I was searching for him yesterday to try to talk with him, and I couldn't find him until late last night. So as far as him searching, that's what I wanted to ask him. I wanted to know, you know, this upcoming large search that, you know, his brother-in-law is planning. I wanted to know if he was going to participate, and I didn't get that answer, Nancy.
Well, I know this. I'm looking at a picture of him right now of him grilling out at his home with barbecue sauce and a jar of Jif peanut butter, outdoors grilling. So I think he's at his house. So is he leading searches?
Not that I know of.
Interesting.
No.
I want you to take a listen to Barry Morphew talking to Tyson Draper of the Draper Brothers on YouTube. Listen.
What seems to have happened from the investigators, and they don't give much, and I've got private people working for me, is maybe she was abducted right here. And they found an article going west of hers. They won't tell us what it is. So they sent another team after they found the article that covered this hillside all the way down to the river pretty good. My concerns were this way and that way if it was the cat, because the cats, they dragged their prey up the mountain and out of people's. We can't find sign for the cat, but we got rain like right away.
Yeah.
Could have washed away sign.
I'm taking a listen to Mr. Morphew speaking with Tyson Draper on the Draper Brothers YouTube channel. Lauren Scharf, again, he's claiming he has private people working for me. His words. Who? Is it an investigative team? Is it private detectives? Who is it?
You know, Nancy, I asked a private investigator in Colorado if he knew of anyone that Barry had hired or anything, and he didn't know any private investigators that had been, hired by Barry in Colorado.
Interesting. Lauren Scharf, where is the hotel that he rented for his coworker, Jeff Puckett? It's a Holiday Inn. Where is it?
It's in Broomfield, Colorado, which is just outside of Denver. It takes about 3 hours from Chaffee County to get there.
Okay, so he left that morning around 5 a.m. and then he leaves around 6 p.m. for a quote family emergency. You say this room was rented specifically for Jeffrey Puckett to come work on a job site where there was no equipment and no dirt. But that when Puckett gets there, could you describe the state of the room again, please, Lauren Scharf?
Yeah, he said that it smelled like chlorine, very strong. And he thought maybe Barry had gone to the pool, but the pool had been closed. He saw that there was wet towels on the ground. It looked like the shower had been used, that the bed had been laid in. And he also found the next morning a piece of mail that was addressed to Barry that had something to do with property insurance.
Now, again, none of this means Barry Morphew is a suspect or even a person of interest. Again, to you, Donald Schweitzer, former detective, former prosecutor, now defense attorney, why is it we always go through and vet boyfriend, lover, ex-husband, husband, guy that's got a crush, secret admirer? Why do we always look at them first, Donald?
Well, Nancy, you said it at the beginning of the show that statistically, this is where it most likely happens, that it's somebody that's intimately involved with the missing person that is responsible for these type of things. I want to talk to you just briefly about this hotel thing.
Okay.
Why in the world is he taking a shower in somebody else's room? Unless, he's being smart. He's saying, look, I'm not going to lead the authorities to my own room. And why is he even taking a shower? He'd been gone a few hours, but there's no evidence that he did any work. So he's taking the shower in some other guy's room, and then he leaves behind what looked like chaos to me. He's probably extremely nervous. I mean, if he did this, okay, I understand that he's not a person of interest, but if he is the person that did this, it looks like there was a panic. He's leaving things behind that normally you would clean up after yourself.
On the other hand, it could be argued, Kirk Nurmi, that he went for a jog or he exercised. The pool was closed, so those wet towels did not come from the pool. But if he had gone there, jogged, worked out, gone to the construction site, got sweaty, came back, took a shower, then got news his wife's missing, he throws down the towel and leaves. Bam. That could be the argument.
That certainly would be the argument. And again, it's a matter of setting up all these circumstances. I wasn't around. I was doing these other things. And I reacted appropriately once I found out my wife was missing, once I got a call from my kids.
Dr. Debbie Jaffe-Ellis, psychologist, professor at Columbia, it's often argued by defense attorneys that there is no playbook or a script for anxiety or grief. And that is true. People don't always act the way you think they should act. And very often it means nothing.
I totally agree. I tend to avoid using the word normal when it comes to referring to any sort of emotional experience or behavior. And some people, again, could be compulsive. That explains certain actions and chemicals they use. Some people could be messy. That's why they leave towels on the floor. So in my view and observation and work over the years, there's no normal. It's informative to look at regular patterns and if they're changed and what might influence the change. But normal, for me, that means little.
Guys, we are waiting to uncover who is the private eye or detective firm Mr. Morphew is using, and we wait as justice unfolds. And again, let me reiterate, Morphew, not a suspect, but we still want to find Suzanne. Nancy Grace, Crime Story, signing off. Goodbye, friend.
Okay, so that was the first 2 episodes of Nancy. She's kind of going to get us caught up to where we need to be now. But they if you guys haven't heard, if you're coming late, they did find Suzanne. So they found her today, and they're just probably crossing their T's, dotting the I's, and they're probably going to go after Barry soon. That's what I'm assuming anyway. If there's something that happens with this case, like overnight, and I'm awake and I see it, I'll make sure to text it, tweet it out, or put it on the community tab. And then, so tomorrow we'll be back live at 8:15 p.m. to go over, I don't know which case we'll do tomorrow. We might switch it up a little bit. And then I may come on and do actually another afternoon live like we did today and read through the rest of the Delphi documents, because we have one more section to go and we are through the 136 pages. We made it through. So thank you guys all for being here tonight. I'm going to jump off early kind of tonight because Vincent ordered some food and I'm very hungry this evening since we were talking about food in the chat. But thank you guys so much for being here tonight. If you guys want to, we would love to have you subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to like the video on the way out, and I'll see you guys all in the next live. Bye, guys.